police commander. He's offering water to some displaced children in the Chereponi area, and that was 2 months ago when fighting broke out there between Konkombas and Chokosis over a parcel of land. Now, one person was killed and many more mud houses destroyed. Many were also displaced, while some fled to neighboring Togo. That conflict ended after about a week, but resurfaced just days after President Akufo-Addo visited the area recently. Today, the fighting has intensified. 2 persons have been killed and buildings destroyed. Health workers and teachers have fled the area, and children are bearing the brunt of the fight between the factions. Now, the head of Joy News' security desk, Giftiando Apea, is there for us. She'll join us live shortly, but before that, here are some interviews that she conducted when she visited the volatile Chereponi community. Right, now we'll be bringing you those interviews later. Today, the chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Emmanuel Asante, spoke about the matter just before he began a meeting with political parties on disbanding party militias.
We are not prepared because as the conflict is going on, we cannot have all that mind to learn.
How does this make you feel? You are a young man growing up. You've seen your elders, some of your leaders fighting among themselves. How does that make you feel as a young man?
It makes me feel sad when I saw them going to just fight with their...
And if you have to advise them, I'm coming to you. If you have to, if you have an appeal to make to your elders and your leaders, those who are fighting among themselves, what will you tell? What kind of appeal will you make to them?
We will tell them to stop whatever that they are going to do. Because they're fighting us now. They see that we are going to, if you do not get 25, you will not go to school. We have to tell our parents and they will stop it.
If you get 25 in what? In the BC?
BC. You will go to school, but if you did not get it, you can't go to school.
So, what do you know about the conflict? I mean, do you know anything about it? Do you know why? What do you know about it?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yes.
But how will this affect your future? How do you think this will affect your future?
Because if that doesn't happen, we cannot do anything.
Those of you who have not spoken, come. Okay, you come. How do you think this will affect your future?
Well, this conflict, no, the way it is, if you're in the house, you can learn. And as for me, I fear things bad, so because of this conflict, when I'm learning, I'm feeling fear in me.
You're feeling fear?
So I can't even learn, and I don't even know whether I'm very well prepared for the BC.
But now that you have to write the exams, it's just next month, so you have to write. How are you going to write it? I mean, do you know how many subjects you have covered so far? Which subjects have you covered?
Like science and maths, social, and then English.
So you spoke to me about fear. You say you are afraid. You're somebody, come forward. You're somebody who fears a lot. Now you have the fears of hearing gunshots or people fighting, and then there's also the fear of writing the exams. How are you going to manage these two and then write the exams?
Well, I'll just have to learn hard and pray to God so that I'll be able to write it and write it well.
Okay. Is there somebody else who wants to say something? Do you want to add something? You want to say something? Tell us your name.
My name is Amado Asia. We are appealing to the 2 ethnic groups to please stop the conflict because it is really affecting we the candidates. As at now, when we are in our various houses, we cannot do anything about it. So they should please stop the conflict because this year the cut-off grade is grade 25. And as we are in the house, we cannot do anything. I'm crying because we are suffering. The government should do something about this conflict because it is really affecting we the BC candidates because the cut-off grade is grade 25. And if we are not learning, what are we going to do in the BC? Well, we cannot do anything. So please appeal to the 2 ethnic groups to please stop the conflict. And the government should do something about it so that it will help with the BC candidate to get what he wants in the near future.
Now, the issue, we understand, has now assumed human rights dimensions following the huge displacement of persons there. Shraj boss Joseph Whittal has been speaking to my colleague Bernice Abubedu Lansa. Here's what he had to say.
Well, at the sub-regional level, I mean, you know the disaster that's happening in Boko Haram between Nigeria and Cameroon. The story is not good. In Niger, the story is not good. Just cuts across. You've heard of the quite a number of Maghreb attacks from Mali to Burkina Faso, among others. And of course, Ghana is on high alert. We all appreciate that these are emerging human rights issues that we need to confront. But there are older ones, in the case of Ghana, like communal violence or conflict, which are so entrenched. It's about some differences between how the settlements came to be. It's about chieftaincy, between gates, competing gates. It's about power. Why the power issues and power dynamics should be allowed to play up to today, affecting women, children, because houses are touched, people have to become overnight refugees and leave their places, is what beats the imagination of everybody. We must begin to put down the issues which will lead to durable peace. And we think that national human rights institutions have to begin to change our lenses and put our lenses on how we can work within the communities, working with other stakeholders, the Peace Council, the community initiatives that are all over the place, to see how we can all begin to bring a human rights-based approach to peace, ensuring peace in our countries and in West Africa. When we're talking about Ghana and conflict, within the eyes of the international community, Ghana is doing quite well. What you see as a problem in Chereponi and others are not the type of conflicts that the UN would want to bring humanitarian people. So we now have to have the local operators looking at how we can intervene. And when I say local operators, I'm talking of the human rights commissions. NADMO is there to ensure that, if there's any disaster and other problems, the houses are touched, what to do. Peace Council, we have to bring the parties together to begin talking. We need to also let them appreciate the effects of the violence on especially the vulnerable and the human rights dimensions of all that. If we begin to do that, I'm sure we will change minds. We would also assist governments to get some durable solutions to some of the conflicts that are taking place.
Now, the situation in Chereponi is not to be understated. It's quite a serious, dangerous, precarious situation into which our news team has waded just to bring information to us. In the picture behind me, you can see our head of security desk, Gifty Ando Apea, and a camera technician who you can see just over my shoulder just here. Now, you can see they're both in armor, bulletproof armor provided by the military. They have a military escort without which they cannot move anywhere in that area. There are roads that are blocked, inaccessible to members of the public, and certainly not to a news team that wants to stay safe. Clearly, this is a volatile situation. It can erupt at any moment, and even while they're interviewing members of the community in areas where they are permitted to go with a military escort, they are still under very heavy protection, wearing those bulletproof armored vests that you can see there. So the situation is far from resolved, although there is an uneasy calm settling over the two sides of the conflict at the moment. We'll continue to bring you coverage from those areas as long as we are able. Now, let's speak now to Kofi Ankoma Hagen. Now, he is with Disasters Network. It's a group which fights for persons in distress because of a disaster or conflict. He joins us now. Mr. Ankoma Hagen, thank you for your time. Now, your organization says it is concerned about the situation in Chereponi. What exactly are your concerns? Yes, it's a bit difficult to hear you. If you can speak up for us, please. Right, we're trying to connect with Mr. Hagen. I think we have some contact difficulties. We will. Here we are, Mr. Hagen. I can hear you now. I hope you can hear us too.
Yes, I can hear you correct.
That's wonderful. So walk us through the particular concerns of the Disasters Network.
Yeah, our concerns are generally anywhere that we find citizens, you know, and even outsiders going through stress due to emergency situations.
Right. So,
and this.
What are the things that worry you particularly about the Chereponi conflict?
It's about the people. It's always like that. It's about the people who are temporarily displaced, and then those, because they've lost their homes. Once they lose their homes, they lose their livelihoods, and you know, people who are independently, you know, catering for themselves, suddenly become that vulnerable, such that they will have to depend on others to just get by. Yes, so it is such situations that we come in as an advocacy group to ensure that the government, NADMO, other benevolent organizations and individuals, and even, you know, both from within and from outside, come to the aid of such people. It's heartbreaking watching what is unfolding on TV. I saw an interview on your network where some JHS final were being interviewed, and you know, it's very difficult to keep yourself from breaking down yourself into tears because people, these youths, really want to achieve something. They have their hopes in education, and this temporary situation is threatening to dash their hopes, and it's extremely difficult for them.
Right. How do you assess the reaction of government so far? Do you think they're on the right track in dealing with this? We currently have an uneasy calm. The lead personality so far in the government intervention has been the Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwul, who is an MP for the area, actually belongs to one of the factions, well, in terms of his tribal, his ethnic origins, is from one of the factions, although he is seeking to bring a resolution to the situation on both sides. So what do you think of government's efforts so far?
Government seems to be doing what they think they could do, but it is also extremely unfortunate that we have a defense minister who happens to be belonging to one of the factions. It's a Kokomba. The defense minister is a Kokomba, and I think it is somehow indiscretion on the part of the government to have made such an appointment, because we all know that these conflicts have been simmering for a very long time. So it would have been, you know, better. Things would have been a bit okay if there was a neutral person who was in charge of our defenses and was actually helping with this. You know, it's not easy. You know, you may say all that you want to say, but on the ground, the issue is that if you find somebody from your opposite side who tries to come and then calm you down and try to, you know, sympathize with you and try to solve the issue, that the person may be doing whatever they think is right, but people will also see him as part of their opponent. And from the word go, I wasn't happy when looking at the conflict situation at that area, not just this one. When Mr. Nitiwo, I don't have any problem with him as a person, a fine gentleman, very ambitious young person, but that position, looking at his background, when there's numerous simmering conflicts in that area, to have made somebody, a person from one of such factions, Minister of Defense, I think it's an indiscretion on the government side. And in situations like this, it comes very clear. And I will be very, very happy if the government, based on these issues, make a second thought, take a second look at it.
Probably are you calling for his removal from office?
I will be very not just removal, but probably reshuffle. Maybe he's moved somewhere an equally important position, so that somebody from outside of who is not aligned to any of these groups take the position, so that factions will feel comfortable dealing with such a defense.
Okay, Mr. Nkrumah Hagan, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Kofi Nkrumah Hagan is from Disasters Network. We appreciate it very much.